Hey, how's it going, guys? So I recently made a video on the heat pump dryer that I purchased, and I wanted to make a comparison between a heat pump and a gas dryer. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the dry times for both. So I see a lot of videos online that talk about the differences between a heat pump and a gas dryer, but I thought it would be a good idea to actually test them out in a real world environment. So I have access to both, so I decided to throw the same set of clothes in the heat pump and the gas dryer. So let's compare the data and see what it shows. So let's talk about the clothes we're going to throw in here. It's a very simple set of clothes. It's a sweatshirt, some pants, a shirt, and a pair of socks. These exact same clothes are going to go in both the heat pump and the Samsung dryer, and I'm also using the LG's TurboWash feature twice, one for the heat pump and one for the Samsung dryer. So the clothes are using the same washer, different dryer. Now the settings that I use for the dryer are the normal settings. So when I turn on the dryer, I generally don't change any of the settings. I leave it all on the default. So energy saver is on, and that's pretty much it. I don't do anything else. I just hit the play button and let the machine do its thing. So after it was done calculating, it said it was going to take 1 hour and 35 minutes, which was pretty spot on. As you can see over here on my phone, it was 7:23 p.m. when we started the cycle, and it ended at about 8:55 p.m. Okay. So after the 1 hour and 35 minute mark, I went to the unit and I emptied out the clothes. Now I use 3 dryer balls in here, so I don't have to use fabric softener, but the clothes felt completely dry. They were not damp at all, which is a common complaint on these systems, but it was absolutely perfect. I had no complaints. So now let's take a look at the data. So the LG Wash Tower estimated that it was going to take 1 hour and 35 minutes. Now, based on the video, you guys saw that we started at 7:22 p.m. And ended at 8:54 p.m. So it actually took about 1 hour and 32 minutes. So well within the estimated range. If you're wondering why it says 7:22 p.m., well, if you look at the video, I let 1 minute pass. So it was 1 minute overdue. But as long as you let the clothes dry for that amount of time without opening the door, it will always pop the clothes out dry 100% of the time. So now that you see the times for the LG heat pump, let's talk about its competitor, the Samsung dryer. This is the dryer that I have access to, and it has very similar sensors to the LG Wash Tower. So we're going to set it to a time dry. But here's the unit. As you can see here, it's about 4 years old, so it's not that old. But it does live outside, so it endures more of a beating. And here's the inside of the unit, and it is massive. I mean, it is almost 2 times the size as the other unit. So here are the features. As you can see here, we're not really going to get too much into this one. We're just interested in the time. So after making sure that the lint filter is clean, I threw the clothes in there, and they're the exact same clothes. We set it to a time dry of 40 minutes, which is about half the time as the LG heat pump. So after letting it run, you could see that the clothes came out pretty cool. So what the unit does is it heats it up, and then once it reaches the temperature that it's aiming for, it cools it down. That way when you reach your hand in there and touch the clothes, it doesn't burn you. So the clothes, unsurprisingly, were completely dry. So let's take a look at the data over here. The wash tower is on the left with all the data we already explored, and the Samsung gas dryer is on the right. I mean, there's just no comparison. The gas dryer absolutely destroys the heat pump. So it did it in half the time that the heat pump did. Okay, and not only that, you have to take into consideration that the gas dryer is actually a little bit larger, so it has to heat up more air. Now, this isn't really unsurprising, but it does go to show you just how much longer a heat pump will take to dry your clothes. So now that you see the time differences between a heat pump and a gas dryer, you're probably wondering, why would I ever want to go with a heat pump? It takes twice as long, and it just seems like it's going to take forever for everything. Well, it does have a couple of benefits, and we went over it in my other video, but in case you're wondering, to give you a quick rundown, number one, they're ventless, so you don't have to have a vent. Number two, they don't create negative pressures. They are not sucking air from your home and pushing it to the outside. And number three, they're a little bit lighter on your clothes. So even though it does take longer, it doesn't aggressively push heat to them, which can actually be better for your clothes. Nonetheless, though, I hope this information does help you come to a consensus on whether a heat pump dryer is for you or not. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.